and welcome to this webinar. I'm Angelo Ferrante, I'm the Secretary General of Med-TSO. Just a few words to introduce to this webinar that's devoted to present the Mediterranean Master Plan 2020 that has been developed by Med-TSO in the frame of the Mediterranean Project 2 that was concluded in last October. This webinar is the last event that has been organized for disseminating the main results of this project that committed the association in the last 2.5 years, a project supported by the European Commission that gave us the opportunity to work actively for fostering the integration process in the Mediterranean region. The master plan is one of our major deliverables, representing nowadays one of the core outcomes of Med-TSO. It is at its second edition, and also in the new project that has been launched in October, TSIMED project. Again, with the support of the European Commission, there will be an update and an upgrade also of the master plan to let it become more and more consistent in models, in analysis, and in the way of reporting our results. The webinar has been organized in 2 sessions. One that has been carried out yesterday, quite successful, that focused on the Western Mediterranean region and its main projects. And the second, that's today, that focuses on the eastern part of the Mediterranean region. I hope that also today there will be a relevant participation, and also I invite you to make questions, to participate actively to the debate. Being the agenda very rich and the list of many speakers that have to follow in these 2 hours webinar, just some general remarks. Why are we developing a master plan? It is important to remind what are the objectives. All the countries in the region are involved in the energy transition that is becoming more and more a challenge for the TSOs. The integration process is no more an option. It is a mandatory activity that we have to fulfill, and therefore there is a need also to develop multilateral activities aimed at an harmonized development of the transmission grid. And the master plan has actually this objective. It is a set of transmission projects analyzed with the same rules and the same criteria to assess the regional impact of new interconnection projects, and also with the objective to promote a coordinated approach that should be implemented in the preparation of the national development plans. You know that this long-term regional network development plan should include several activities: the definition of scenarios, the definition of the projects to be assessed, the creation of reference models of power systems for studying the commercial and technical viability of these interconnection projects. All these aspects will be touched during this seminar with the main actors that have contributed to its development. What are the main figures of the master plan? We have assessed 15 projects that, although having different degrees of maturity, all were aiming to connect the Mediterranean area. We have studied more than 18 gigawatt of new interconnection capacity with more than 4,000 kilometers of new HVDC interconnection. The most part of these projects is constituted by undersea cables, for a total global investment of around 10 billion euros. You know that this year has been a very complicated year for all of us. COVID-19 has been a tremendous challenge for all of us in our companies, but also in Med-TSO. And I'm quite proud to say that despite the contingencies, the association has been capable to confirm its commitment and capable to deliver what was in the action plan of the association. By the way, COVID-19 has been also the opportunity to review some of our activities. The first, the way of working. We were used to work mostly based on meetings in presence. The technical committee is used to meet regularly. Now we have increased the number of meetings, but they are all, we are all become experts in using video conferences tools, and this webinar is a proof of that. The other is also in the outcomes, because we were invited by to deliver new opportunities to develop our reports, and actually the master plan gave us the possibility to investigate new ways of producing our results. There will be a presentation also during this webinar of a new way of presenting the report, a digital reporting, digital report of the master plan, where it's possible to navigate in the results, etc., and that gives the possibility to extract more and more useful information from this tool. I don't want to spend other time on this general introduction. I would like to conclude my presentation wishing you a fruitful attendance and confirming that, of course, we are fully available for any further support you may require. Thanks for joining, and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you very much, Angelo, for your introduction. I will now give the floor to Emmanuel Bouet from RTE, the French transmission system operator. But I mean, today will introduce us to the Med-TSO 2030 scenarios, since he is the chair of the technical committee that has developed the scenario. Emmanuel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Simone. So just let me share my screen. So nice to be with you today. Yeah, I am Emmanuel Buet from RT's French TSO, and I am here as the chairman of TCSS. TCSS stands for Technical Committee, Economic Studies and Scenario. This committee made of people coming from planning department, of strategy department of the TSOs. In the global activity of master plan is in charge of two things. One is to build and to define scenarios, and to also to perform the full data collection, but also in charge to implement those assumptions in modeling. And what you will discover today in my presentation, so in this first part of the webinar, is the result of this activity. One of our activity of TCESS is the project assessment. I mean, interconnection project assessment, that is to measure impact and benefit of project in terms of many indicators, like economy of fuel, CO2 impact, etc. That is another activity of TCSS. We perform jointly with the TC Planning, which is in charge of grid studies, and those results will be present in the second part of this webinar. Yeah, I would apologize for those of you who were present yesterday, in the sense that my presentation today for scenario will have a lot in common. So starting with the definition of scenarios. first, the purpose of those scenarios is to explore possible futures situation interacting with the Mediterranean power system. And the end of those scenarios is to build the path from the present to several possible futures in terms of trends on the load, on generation, etc., to give a robust framework for the grid development studies and being rational for the master plan. Then, for building scenarios for the Mediterranean power system, need before all to have a clear view of the current situation. And the first point is ready to say that the Mediterranean region is characterized by a wide contrast. Contrast first in the dynamic of the evolution of electricity demand between countries which are experiencing regular growth of 4 or even 5% per year, and others which have shown stability or even a decrease over the past 10 years. Contrast also in national energy and environment policies and in the importance given to any regional regulation, the most comprehensive of which concerns European countries. Actually, there is a large disparities that affect the way the states address their commitment to the Paris Agreement, but a form of convergence is found in the massive development of renewable energies, mainly solar and wind, as we will see just later. Finally, contrast in the way of organizing electricity exchange between countries from a full integrated and efficient market to other configurations that give more priority to mutual assistance consideration. It's worth noting the infrastructures themselves also offer very contrasting exchange possibilities. Considering those contrasts, what you can see here is how we consider for the next 10 years what we consider to be the driver, the most important driver for coming evolution. And in this graph, the size of each circle corresponds to the relative impact those drivers address. So we have a driver in terms of macroeconomic trends, and here that is actually the most important, that is the GDP and population growth. That remains the main driver for the Mediterranean countries in terms of impacting possible future. What we have also that is very important is renewable development and greenhouse gas emission reduction. That is also a very important driver for the region. Besides that, we have other consideration about regulation, policies, and cooperation and Mediterranean integration. What we find also is new demand and energy efficiency, and finally demand of new technologies. So considering all those drivers and their importance, the next step is to define scenarios considering a coherent combination all those drivers. And this table you can find here present the three most important driver and the scenario definition, starting with the scenario which name is national development, that has a storyline based on positive yet conservative option for long-term economic growth and decarbonization in the Mediterranean region, accompanied by a moderate population growth. The extent of development of renewable energy generation corresponds to commitment already made, plus already approved by national energy policies. And in terms of energy efficiency, it presents a limited development. Second scenario, his name is green development, that describe a Mediterranean region that benefit from a good development of macroeconomic trends. emphasis is placed on the development of renewable, especially with the construction of large generation facilities, but also with development of decentralized generation and the growing role of prosumers. The effort to improve energy efficiency are focused on residential sector and industry, resulting in the emergence of new uses of electricity. And the third scenario is Mediterranean evolution. That is a scenario that embraces a regional approach to the energy transition. It is based on a strong population growth, especially in the south and east coast, accompanied by dynamic economy based on a strong development of industrial sectors and services. The ambition for renewable and the reduction of greenhouse gas are increased and can rely on regional cooperation and more interconnection between countries. And finally, the use of electricity are developing significantly, while at the same time efforts are made to improve energy efficiency. So that is for the main definition of the three scenarios. Besides those driver and scenario definition, we had also to decide a set of common parameters and principles that are needed to give a strong framework to the scenarios. And first, the market studies adopt the principle of efficient direct market or mechanism. Second, and despite some Mediterranean countries are or expect to be a natural gas producer, we adopt the principle of similar fossil fuel prices across the whole area, also ignoring existing subsidies. And third, we adopt also the principle of an economic value for the CO2 emission common to all the Mediterranean countries. Here in this table, you have the CO2 price we adopt. Then, last, it is important to mention before passing to the result, our Med-TSO scenarios for the Mediterranean countries consider all the other interconnected countries, and this table, it is mentioned the way we match or we arrange the correspondence between Med-TSO scenarios and, for what concerns Europe, the TNDP 2020 scenarios. And here you have the name of the scenario. Probably you know TNDP. That is the correspondence we adopt for all the European countries, not only the countries that are also members of Med-TSO, but for all the Europe. And we also consider a connection on the east with Saudi Arabia through two interconnection, one with between Jordan and Saudi Arabia, and the second between Egypt and Saudi Arabia. That is for the main hypothesis. So now let's move to the result. First, talking about electricity consumption evolution for 2030. Here on the left, on this map, you have the full perimeter of the country we consider where we are talking about Mediterranean countries. It is not only Med-TSO countries, it is all the Mediterranean countries you have here on this map. At this perimeter, the electricity consumption evolution for 2030 remains dynamic, mainly driven by economic and demographic growth. From a demand around 2,000 terawatt in 2018, we foresee for 2030 a demand around 2,500 terawatt. That represent an increase in 12 years of 25% in the national development for the lowest and 33% in the Mediterranean evolution scenarios for the highest. But this increase shows also contrasting dynamics between the Mediterranean countries. To illustrate this effect, I propose here to split the countries into 4 groupings. As you can see on the map with the colors, And in this table below, where we have southwest, southwest, northwest, southeast, and northeast. And today we will focus more on those countries on the east. Anyway, this bar graph illustrates a kind here in northwest, a kind of stability in the demand. Yeah, when the other region see a strong increase, actually between 40 and 80% in the 12 years, depending on the region and the scenarios. To focus more on the eastern region, this growth is mostly pushed by Egypt for the southeast. Egypt with around 300 terawatt-hours, and by Turkey for the northeast with more than 450 terawatt-hours expected in 2030. Let's move now to the generation side. For the generation evolution, we foresee a significant increase that is driven by the challenge of security of supply. I mean, to continue to cover an increasing demand, and also by the decarbonization of the generation fleet. So this graph illustrates the generation capacity for fossil fuel. What we can see here in dark gray is urge reduction in coal capacity. In light gray, what we can see is a stability in terms of gas generation that actually is more very significant reduction of gas in Europe and an increase in the other countries. Many countries considering that in their energy policy gas to replace coal. Nuclear shows a slight decrease despite a development of this technology in a few countries. And I have to mention here, because we are focusing on the east, that this increase in some countries concern both Egypt and Turkey. Hydro generation shows an increase in some countries, and especially the most being in Turkey, but also hydro pumping storage, where the possibility for the new dam is yet saturated. And I need also to mention here that this storage and hydro storage is being part of energy policy for renewable integration in many countries. But the most remarkable on this graph actually is development of solar and wind capacity in all the Mediterranean countries. To see that more precisely, this graph on the right, where here you can see the evolution from 2018 to 2030 for the three scenarios for what regard hydro in blue, wind in green, and solar in yellow. And that for wind technology, capacity in Mediterranean countries is multiplied by almost 3. And for solar, it is about 4 or 5 times. This graph here on the left illustrates this urge increase in the rest capacity affect all the region, taken opportunity of the local resources. So here in the west, northwest, what you can see more or less is that the accumulated renewable capacity would be multiplied by 2. In the other region, it is much more than 2. You can appreciate here the urge increase actually in every countries. Why? So first, Mediterranean region benefit from really good resources, both for solar obviously, but also for wind generation. But the sharp decrease in renewable cost is the main reason for massive expansion. And that is taken from a report from IRENA here to mention that renewable is becoming the cheapest way to increase generation capacity in many countries. Here on the right, you can find also some very recent example of real bidding price in several countries. It is that is a world overview, but you can appreciate here, for example, Egypt with a price below 30 euro per megawatt for PV. Morocco is here. Portugal below 20 euro per megawatt. So that means in many Mediterranean countries, development of RES is not only motivated for more CO2-free generation, but for economic reasons as well. So let's see now how the generation capacity will meet the demand. So the demand, the additional demand, this graph is in energy. So here you have 2000 terawatt-hours. That is the situation in 2018. And here 2500. That is what we foresee in terms of demand for 2030. And so equally in terms of generation. And what you can see on here is that the additional demand is fully satisfied by the increase in production from renewable sources. We can also see here on this graph in dark gray, you can note here the urge reduction in coal generation. Then for the green development scenario, nearly half of the consumption is covered by renewable generation. In the green scenario, again in 2030, here you can see very close to 50% when it was a bit more than 1/4 in 2018. More in detail, you can see the share of wind generation could be really not far from 20% and 15% for the solar generation. Having a more detailed view on our countries. So this graph presents the distribution of annual electricity generation by country. Here you have all the country, and by fuel in 2030 in the green development scenarios. In addition, the brown line is the share of renewable in the whole national generation. The development of renewable is expected in all the Mediterranean countries, some of them planning a strong increase. Actually, 9 of the Mediterranean countries show in the green scenario a share of RES higher than 50%. All those nine countries. So to give you some example in the Eastern Mediterranean, first being first being Greece. Here, Greece. Where the share of renewable in this scenario would reach 80% in 2030, thanks to the development of both wind and solar. And I must mention that this ratio was around 30% in 2018. To continue with Eastern countries, yes, Turkey here, the share of renewable could reach 40% in this scenario, so very similar to today, with hydro generation remaining the first renewable energy sources. In several other Eastern countries benefiting from very good sunny or windy conditions like Cyprus, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, the share of rays could be around 30% when it was below 10% in 2018. I mentioned that Syria, Lebanon, and Israel not contributing to the data collection. Those assumptions were elaborated by the TCSS, considering public available in documents. To come back to Cyprus, but also to other countries experiencing absence or weak interconnection grid, it will be shown in the second part of the webinar, the benefit new interconnections can provide in terms of RES integration. So to conclude and consequently, those change in the generation mix are a move toward a more carbon-free power system. As you can see in this table, 2030 horizon shows a reduction in CO2 emitted from electricity generation, despite a significant increase in the electricity demand. The reduction of CO2 is around 20% compared with 2018. That represents a decrease around 100 million tons CO2 emitted in 1 year. The second indicator in this table is the CO2 content of electricity, units being in a gram of CO2 per kilowatt-hour. And then from around 300 in 2018, we foresee a decrease, a strong decrease, below 200 in 20 years. So that's it for my presentation. Perhaps Simone, you can share if there is some question. I don't know.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Well, I had one, but of course I had to give priority to to attendees. No, there are a couple of questions.
Yes.
So one from Mr. Tulib about that could be interest to separate hydro and res, but I'm not sure.
Yes. Yeah, it could be interesting. Actually, it is not presented here because I try to be very synthetic, but our policy is to be fully transparent in terms of data. So it is up to everyone to access to the full set of data. And at the end of this webinar, Luca will present a different way for you to access the full set of data.
Yeah,
yes,
perfect. And Alessandro Rubino is asking if we will make available the presentation also. The presentation you're showing, I think.
Yeah, of course,
available.
Yeah,
okay. These are the two questions. Well, I will ask one myself directly with regard to the perimeter that you have simulated. I mean, because of course, at a certain point, I mean, I guess you have defined a boundary, a perimeter of a country simulated, and so how you take into account other maybe possible interconnection with
so what we do is to consider the full integrated power system. I mean, not only the Mediterranean countries, but in terms of model, what we use is Antares. Antares is a software that is common to NSOA and to Med-TSO, and thanks to intensive cooperation we have between the two association, we have a full sharing of modeling, and then the modeling we adopt in Med-TSO consider the full NSOA model. Starting in the north, from very far from the Mediterranean Sea, with Scandinavian countries, but as it is interconnected, we have to consider that. And then yes, we consider all the countries in the modeling, so not as a border condition, but really as a modeling, taking opportunity of merit order. And here I mentioned that we also consider connection with Saudi Arabia. In this case, it is a border condition. It is an opportunity to develop more our project with more integration of other countries. At this stage, it's considered as border condition.
Okay, thank you very much, Emmanuel. I don't see. We don't have any other question for the time being, so I will thank you once again, and I will now give the floor to Modesto Gabriele Francescato from Terna, and chair of the technical committee planning, to well, introduce us to the important role of interconnection to integrate all these renewables and for achieving the energy transition targets.
Thank you, Simone, and good morning to everybody. Today I'm going to show you a few slides about the methodology that we are following in order to draft and elaborate the Mediterranean Master Plan 2020, which is one of the main deliverable of the project. We are living now in a period of transition. At the European level, the European Commission, the new Commission has stated a new policy, the new Green Deal, which is foreseeing a very important level of investment in the next 10 years, about 1 trillion of euro. And this is important in order to launch a new era of investment in the not only in the energy, but specifically in the electricity system, because electricity, we know that in the thermodynamic is a pure energy. Electricity is the most useful vector of energy in the system, and electricity means efficiency, and it could drive and could allow the energy system to be fully decarbonized. We know that in the future we should rely on the new green energies, and we as TSOs are launching a plan of new investments in order to allow the green renewables to be fully operative in the system. So what we have done in terms of analysis is to establish a methodology that, starting from the market simulations, so when we speak about scenario, we run markets analysis through a simulator that represent the system through a bidding zones structure. Through the market analysis, we evaluated the energy, but starting from the results of the market simulation, we run even network analysis in order to consider what are the hypotheses for the analysis of congestions, possible criticalities arising from, for example, voltage profile instability. So we analyze the network through, for example, load flow analysis, and through this kind of evaluation, we evaluate the reinforcements that are required in order to allow the interconnection to be operative and allow the exchanges of electricity from the different countries. So we perform a full set of market and network studies in order to evaluate the cost-benefit analysis, and for which we use as much as possible the gold standard at the international level. We use the same procedure like in N3 framework. So we analyze the benefits from different point of view: social, economic welfare, the exchanges of renewables, the CO2 variation. We consider even the reduction of losses, because, for example, making the grid more developed, this allow the dispatching of the renewables less constrained, so it could reduce the losses, and losses means CO2 emissions. So we run security of supply analysis in order to evaluate the adequacy and system stability. So these benefits are linked to the behavior and the impact in the electricity system. So these are the basis for the technical and economical assessment of the benefits. But there are residual evaluations, so in terms of residual impacts, and these indicators are more qualitative. By the comparison of benefits and costs, we evaluate the indicator of cost-benefit analysis. So these are the most important methodology that we use. In order to speak about what are the focus of the network analysis, coming from the market analysis, we have for example, the results in terms of energy curve, demand, and production. We established a methodology in order to consider for each project that we have studied kind of point in times. The point in time is one specific hour coming from the results of the market analysis, because only 1 hour or a few set of hours, because while the market analysis consider simplified structure of the system, bidding zone, so zonal approach, the network studies consider the complete topology of the grid, but with a few hours. So we focus on a complete set of nodes and lines, but we cannot evaluate the full set of hours coming from the market analysis. So specific hours where the system is put under stress. So these the hours are picked up coming from the selection of specific condition that could arise by, for example, the evaluation of different variables like demand, electricity production from renewables, and so on. So which kind of study is performed in the network studies? Typically the load flow analysis. So the N and N-1 or N-2 criteria are defined in order to evaluate by putting out of service one specific line which kind of voltage profile variation or over thermal limit could be. These are the possible risk of instability and lack of security. So Through these kind of studies, we have evaluated different kind of projects. We have finally have a list of 15 projects that could be clustered, take into consideration the relevant needs that could be coming from the Mediterranean electricity system. So what are the main investment needs? The investment needs could be clustered in terms of market, integration of market, efficiency of the market, but also coming from dispatch, adequacy, and security of supply. This is an important set of need. And last but not least, there are a set of indicators that are labeled in terms of operation that could be an important investment need. We know, for example, that because of the lack of thermal generation in the future, there is lack of inertia. So the inertia could be a risk, the lack of inertia for the future. So going to the list of projects, we have, as I have already said, 15 projects that could be clustered in different corridor, and my colleagues afterwards will present specifically each project, but in a synthetic way we can evaluate the overall benefits in terms of more than 20 gigawatt of capacity in terms of thermal capacity, but I would like to focus specifically on the HVDC. The HVDC technology is one of the most important technology in which the TSOs rely in the future, because most of the interconnection from the North Africa and from the Middle East to the European countries are foreseen with this specific technology that could allow the system to increase the stability. So this is a very important. We know, for example, recently we had at the beginning of January a big event, the 8th of January, and a drop of frequency that was addressed and solved through interruptible loads in Italy and France, but also HVDC between Belgium and the UK have reduced the risk by setting in a very dynamic way the drop of a power flow coming from Belgium to UK. So HVDC could help the TSOs in order to reduce the risk of instability. In terms of investment, we have aggregated investment costs of about 13 billion of euro. This is a very important level of capex, and with around of 5,700 kilometers of overall interconnection length. So this was my last slide, and I would like to thank you again for the attention.
Thank you very much, Modesto. Let me see. There is one question. Can you see? I'm. Well,
perhaps I can answer
it's more related to scenario and gas price assumption, Emanuele. Thank you very much.
Yes, exactly. The question is raised by Mr. Robert Tuyeb, well-known and friend actually. Nice to have you, Robert, today. Yes, your question is, as you point that what we consider in the market studies is similar fuel prices. And probably you could also mention a common CO2 prices. So yes, I want to say that what we do is a master plan. So our approach is to measure the impact and benefit of project in terms of social economic welfare. It is not a business plan. We are not assessing the bankability of the project. That is another thing. Bankability of the project depends on the revenue of new interconnection. It can depend on mechanism. That is the business of the TSOs. We are TSOs, but we are at the level of the social economic benefit of the project. And it is why, for example, when there is a different fuel price in all the countries, many reasons for having a different fuel price is subsidies. We, as approach of master plan, don't have to consider subsidies. That is a question of over money. What we consider is the fuel by itself, and same for CO2. That is very important to have a common CO2 price, even if there is not CO2 pricing in many countries, for two reasons. The first reason is to have fair competition between countries, and that is important to avoid a carbon leakage in the logic of European countries. And now Europe is opening question of border adjustment, so it confirms in one way this idea of reinforcing a fair exchange. So that is the first point, but that is also very important that every project has an impact in terms of CO2 emission, and we monetize this impact with a price of CO2, and that is important to have a common way to monetize those CO2 impact. There is no reason to monetize differently CO2 depending on where it is emitted, because in terms of global warming, CO2 is the same thing. So again, what we adopt is an approach of master plan in the position of social economic welfare. And yes, so definitely if we had to make a business plan, we would do the thing differently. But again, it is not the role of Med-TSO, and we are doing a master plan, and business plans is for the investors, so for the TSOs, for the regulators, etc., etc. That is why we adopt those principles.
Manuel, thank you very much. Mr. Tulip, thank you for your questions. I will now give the floor. With just 2 minutes of delay, let's go to the presentation of each and every project. So starting with Mr. Gökhan Yazin, sorry for my pronunciation of your name, from TEYES, the Turkey transmission system operator. We will present 3 different projects. Project 6, Turkey, Egypt. Project 7, interconnection between Turkey and Israel. And Project 10, between Syria and Turkey. The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. And first project I will present is Egypt-Turkey project. When we look at the background of the project, we have interconnection with several countries, with our neighboring country, Greece, Bulgaria, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Nakhchivan and Georgia, almost all of the countries. And we are synchronously interconnected with Greece and Bulgaria, so NSOA region. And other interconnection, either HVDC interconnection or isolated area type interconnections. And Egypt is interconnected with Libya, Jordan, and Sudan. And a big project between Egypt and Syria is currently underway for interconnection. We have also involved in a common project with Egypt and Turkey with other 6 countries. It's 8 countries interconnection project. These interconnection projects create a land route between Turkey and Egypt through the land. So in this project, we propose an alternative way to Eastern Corridor as submarine cable. This submarine cable will constitute with 3,000 megawatt HVDC link with submarine cable. So this is an only proposed project. It's not involved in the national plans. It's studies under Med-TSO umbrella. So when we look at the effects of the expectation from the project, first expectation is the reduced high price differentials between different markets, Egypt and Turkey, and increase the integration of renewables. Also, it will increase the security of supply in the region. Studies results shows that in introduction of this interconnection will reduce the coal-based generation in Turkey and increase the gas-based generation in Egypt. So it will reduce the carbon dioxide emission in the region. Also, results show that load flow mainly from Egypt to Turkey in that region. Also, very little effect on the other interconnection of the countries. And when we look at the cost-benefit analysis result, as can you see from the graph, it shows that social economic welfare of the project is very high in 3 scenarios. Also, it reduced the CO2 emissions in very large amounts. As expected, it also reduced the price differentials between Egypt and Turkey. So, investment cost of project expected between 2,000 million euro, 2,500 million euro, and 3,000 million euro, depending on the technology. So, this project introduced only a little internal reinforcement in Turkey, 1% of the total cost of the project. Actually, there is no grid data for the analyze, so it cannot include reinforcement in the Egyptian side. And I think this is the last slide of my presentation. So we can move the next project, Israel-Turkey project. There is also another submarine cable project in the east of the Mediterranean. This project also includes, when we look at the background of the project, we don't have any interconnection between Israel and Turkey. So it's also a proposed project for the region. So this project includes a submarine cable with VSG technology with total capacity of 2,000 megawatt. Also, it's a proposed project, very early stage. So also this project can create an alternative route to existing land route of the East Mediterranean region. So expectation from this project is in market side, reduce price differentials. Also, integration of renewables will be increased with this project. Also, security of supply of the region will increase. Also, with the VSG technology, this project gives some operational advantages, like introducing restoration mechanism and solving voltage stability problems in the region. When we look at the market study results, mostly new flow from Israel, Turkey. Turkey almost net importer in this project. So this will reduce the coal generation in local coal generation in Turkey and increase the gas and, in some scenario, coal generation of Israel. So this project not much affect the other interconnection flows, and mostly it give flows from Israel to Turkey. And when we look at the cost-benefit analysis result, it's also give positive socioeconomic welfare values. Also, by removing local coal generation from the generation mix, reduce to CO2 emissions. And as expected, price differentials will reduce with this interconnection. So cost of this project estimated as 1,200 million euros, and less than 3 point of this value represent the internal reinforcement in Turkish side. So this concludes this project explanation. So finally, I will present the Syria-Turkey interconnection. I think that one's my last slide.
We can see, yes.
Turkey and Syria has an interconnection line between Halep and Birecik. So before the NSO connection of Turkey, this line used for the energy exchange. 2 units of Birecik hydropower plant is directed to Syria system with using unit direction method. So it was a live interconnection. After the connection of the NSO, this interconnection is planned to convert it HVDC interconnection. Will introducing a back-to-back station in Turkey side, but situation of Syria postponed this plan. So in this project, we plan addition of new AC line and increase the capacity of the planned back-to-back station to 1,200 megawatt. First plan is 600 megawatt HVDC back-to-back station. So we plan to add another 600 megawatt back-to-back station with this project. So this project, as expected from the interconnection project, reduced to high price differentials between 2 countries' electric prices. Also increase the security of supply of the countries. Also reduce to cross-border flows and internal grid congestions. When we look at the market result, so in this project, Turkey export mainly to Syria, load flow from Turkey to Syria. So this will increase the coal and gas-based generation in Turkey, but reduce to gas and oil-based generation in Syria and Lebanon in some scenarios. So with this project, as mentioned, increase in local coal and gas-based generation in Turkey will increase the CO2 emissions in Turkey and in general. So when we look at the CBA indicators, we can clearly see that CO2 emission in national development scenario will increase, but socio-economic welfare of the project will give a positive effect of the countries. So as we can clearly see, price between Syria and Turkey will reduce price differentials. And cost of the project is 200 million euros, and only 5% of this amount is the internal reinforcement in Turkey. There is no Syrian grid data, so it cannot calculate the Syria internal reinforcement for this project. And this is the last slide I will present. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you. The number of attendees is even increasing thanks to the interest for this particular projects. I encourage the participants. I don't see any questions for the time being, but we can answer later and come back. So, Mr. Gökhan, thank you very much for your presentations. I will now give the floor to Mr. Ahmed El Sami from Egypt, from ETC, to present Project 8, Egypt, Jordan.
Oh, thank you, Simone, for your introduction. I will share my screen now. Hello, everyone. My name is Ahmed El Sami. I am a network planning engineer at the Egyptian Electricity Transmission Company. Today, I will be presenting project number 8, Egypt and Jordan, with a transfer capacity of 550 megawatts. As a background, we can see that the Egyptian grid is currently connected with Libya grid and also with Jordan, and there is an undergoing project, HVTC link between Egypt and Saudi with total of 3,000 megawatt, and it's expected to be finished before 2030. As for the Jordanian grid, it's currently connected with the grid of Syria and also Egypt. The Jordanian and Egypt are electrically connected since 1998 with 13 kilometer submarine AC cable on the 400 kV volt. The cable consists of 3 circuits plus 1 as a spare at a depth of 850 meters across Taba to Gulf of Aqaba in Jordan, with an exchange capacity of 550 megawatts. The current, our project introduced a second connection with the exact same of our path between Egypt and Jordan with a submarine cable of a distance of 13 kilometers on the 400 kV volt, and expected to increase the current transfer capacity between the two countries to be 1.1 gigawatt. As for the project impact, we can see that the expected merits from the projects are regarding the market. It will reduce high price differential between different market nodes, and also for the dispatch adequacy and security of supply. This project will help to contribute to solving issues related to adequacy and security of supply. As for operation, the project will help to improve the system flexibility and also enable cross-border flow to overcome internal grid congestion. For the generation mix, there's a significant increase in the marginal price, with a negligible effect on the neighboring country. Also, for the generation mix, there will be an increase in the Egyptian local gas-based generation in all scenarios. That will meet a reduction in the Jordanian local gas generation based in all scenarios. And also, we noticed that there was a little reduction in the Jordanian oil and coal-based generation, only for scenario 2 and only for scenario 3. Right here, we will be discussing the CBE indicators. We can see that there is a positive impact of the social economy welfare in all 3 scenarios, and minor with greater expected benefits being noticed in scenario 3 for the CO2. And we can see a slight increase in the marginal price for Egypt in all 3 scenarios, and the marginal price for Jordania decreased in all 3 scenarios. And as for the risk curtailment, the analysis doesn't produce stable results, which could be further evaluated. As for the CBE indicator for the cost, for the total investment cost for the project is expected to be 146.2 million euro. 78% of this cost is going to be internal reinforcement for the Jordanian side. The interconnection cost is going to be around 32 million euro, and it's going to be between Toiba and Aqaba, as you can see from the map. As for the reinforcement in the Jordanian side, we can see that in all 3 scenarios, Jordanian internal transformer reinforcement is needed, and we're going to need 2 transformers with a total cost of 13.2 million. The transformers location are going to be in the Aqaba and Ma'an substations. As for scenario 2 and 3, there is a reinforcement interconnection links in the Jordanian side. We are going to need 3 overhead transmission line on the 400 kV. The first transmission line is going to be between Aqaba and Ma'an. Sorry, it is going to be between south of Amman South and Qatrana, this link, and the second link is going to be between. The first link is between Aqaba and Ma'an. The second link is going to be Amman South and Kantara, and the third link is going to be Amman North to Samra. The system of Egypt was not available, therefore there is no evaluation for the internal reinforcement that is required from the Egyptian side. The losses are expected to range between 0 million euro to 20 million euro per year among the 3 scenarios. And this will be concluded my presentation, but it's worth noting that one other thing that in 2020, a feasibility study is being conducted for the interconnection between Egypt, Jordan, and GCCIA between the Gulf country. And this is going to be really interesting to find the results of this interconnection in the next project by Med-TSO. And thank you so much for your attention.
Well, very, very interesting. Ahmed, thank you very much for your presentation. Yeah, indeed, I was thinking back to the question about where to draw the border, and we need probably definitely to enlarge the perimeter for modeling. Of course, if we will manage to establish a cooperation to exchange data also with the GCCA and all the other countries. But very interesting indeed. Let me see. There is a question from Mr. Tulib with reference to the interconnection Egypt-Jordan. It's more a comment than a question, if I'm not wrong. Par rapport à l'interconnexion Égypte-Jordan avec le développement important des RS en Jordan. So the benefit that you mentioned are important.
Simon, may I translate rapidly the question to
Thank you.
Yes, please.
It's regarding the project Jordan Egypt and regarding the ambition plans that Jordan has initiated regarding the integration of renewables. Do you think that the benefits will remain or will stay if all of this ambitious plan will be conserved?
Perhaps I can answer about market studies. Yeah, so actually Med-TSO is starting a new project, which the name is TSMed, and we will update all those hypotheses. And actually, yes, in terms of race development, we expect to see some change in some countries, but that is normal. It will be a kind of update. That is the normal life of this kind of activities. And about a question regarding regional market scheme, actually, yes, you are absolutely right, and it was just mentioned before that actually in this part of the Southeast Mediterranean region, what we understand that there is a kind of it's like a triangle with Egypt, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. And it is clear that between all those countries, there is many opportunity for complementarities, because the main behavior of power system in Saudi Arabia offer many opportunities. Probably you know that difference in the demand between winter and summer in Saudi Arabia and in Arab Gulf countries in general is very, very different. So there is this kind of opportunity. There is also opportunity in terms of the shifting of the daily peak that are different. So there is a lot of opportunity. So yes, there is a local opportunity for business in terms of energy training. We consider that point in the master plan we are presenting today, and it is something we will continue to try to improve. So yes, absolutely, you're right in your comment about that. I hope I cover the full answer, the question.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you for the question. I will now give the floor to so the next project, project 9, Ahmed Tassin from NEPCO for presenting Jordan, Syria, and Jordan, Palestine projects.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Nice to have you in this meeting. I will share a screen and show you this project, which is project 9. The project is between Jordan and Syria. Can you see the screen, everybody?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
This project is doubling the capacity. The current situation between us and Syria is that there is, at 2010, we have a connection with the 400 kilovolt line, 154 kilometer between Diyar Ali in Syria side to Amman North in Jordan. So we have this connection between us and them with a capacity of 800 megawatt. But it is currently out of operation due to the situation in Syria. But it exists in the Jordanian side fully, and it can operate when the Syrian situation gets settled. Jordan and Syria are part of 8 countries interconnection, including Egypt, Turkey, Lebanon, Iraq, Palestine, and Libya, of course. This is the current situation between us and Syria. So the project now is doubling the capacity via a new, brand new AC overhead line between us and Syria. And it is from nearer place, which is Hassan Industrial. So the route will be shorter, to be 100 kilometer between us and Syrian substation. And it is capacity will be 800 megawatt. The expected commissioning date is 2030 to 2035. It's up to Syrian side and up to the agreement between us and Syria. This project is being assessed, and the impact of it is good in terms of market, dispatch, adequacy, security of supply, and operation. When it comes to market, it reduces high price differential between different market nodes and countries. And in terms of dispatch, it is positively contribute to integration of renewable between in Jordan and also, of course, in Syria, contribute to solving issues related to adequacy and security of supply. This is mainly related to Syria. Operation, it enable cross-border flow and overcome the internal grid congestion and new power flow patterns. Between us and Syria, it will affect also Turkey, Lebanon, and also Egypt, but it is a small impact. In Jordan, it has a good impact with the increase of local gas-based generation and decrease for all scenarios studied that is good, and decrease in local gas supply based generation all scenarios in Syria. For Egypt, it has also increase in local gas-based generation in all scenario via wheeling. So maybe the wheeling will be from Egypt to Jordan to Syria. Decrease in local generation, gas-based generation at Turkey. And also this is the assessed impact in all of these countries. Benefit to cost ratio indicators and are increase in CO2, annual CO2 variations due to the increase in gas generation, and also a good SEW in all scenarios. Marginal price in Jordan, it will be increased, and in Syria, it is the opposite, with the project will be decreased. When it comes to the cost of, this is the benefit. When it comes to the cost, mainly the cost is internal cost in Jordan. It is $114 million. The total cost is 150 million euro. So a huge part of it is internal reinforcement in Jordan. But this is logic, since we don't have the fully Syrian grid. It is modeled as limited and old model. So internal cost of Syria is not evaluated. So the total cost is 150 million, but most of it now is Jordanian costs. And that is for the Jordanian Syria project. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you. Do you also have a project for 14? Is correct?
Yes.
Jordan, Palestine.
Jordan, Palestine. Yes.
Please go ahead.
This is the second project. This is the project Jordan, Palestine, project 14. It is the project number 14 is between us and the Palestinian side. Currently, we are connected to Palestine, to Jericho in isolated grid bases. So we have two, it is based mainly 132 kilovolt line, but it is worked on 33 kilovolt via two lines between us and Suema and to Jericho at Palestinian side. The Jordan and Palestine are both part of 8 countries interconnection, including Egypt, Turkey, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Libya, as I mentioned before. The capacity is no more to 25 megawatt. It's small capacity, so it's isolated grid basis. This is the current situation. The planned situation is that we plan to enlarge the connection between us and Palestine due to the increase in demand, mainly in Palestinian side. So, and the need for Jordan to supply the excess power to neighboring countries and to connect to other countries. It's also an isolated grid basis also project. Mainly 400 kilovolt overhead line between Jordan at Amman West to Palestine, Jericho. This capacity of the line is 200 megawatt and the length of 40 kilometer. The transfer between us and Palestine will be is planned to be 100 megawatt. The full model of Palestine is not available. Only the model of Jordanian side, which is already studied and put in for the scenarios. This is a long-term project. We hope that it will be commissioning and will be evaluated soon. The project has many impacts regarding the dispatch, adequacy, security of supply, and also the operation. For us and the Palestinian side, it will contribute positively to the integration of renewable in Jordan and also in Palestinian side. It also contribute to solving the issues related to adequacy and security of supply. This is mainly in Palestinian side because it is with us isolated grid, fully and partially contribute to the resolving the isolation of countries in terms of power system connectivity and or to meeting the specific interconnection targets. This is mainly the project impacts, which is positive impacts to all of them. So between us and Palestinian side, we have significant increase in gas, local gas generation in Jordan. In this scenario of Mediterranean evaluation. And for Palestinian side, it will increase the exchange for them and they will get the power from Jordan and isolated grid basis. Also, they will may have increase in the trading between them and Israel. Also, the impact will be significant between us and Egypt. We may need gas exchange between us and Egypt to supplement the Palestinian side. Small increase in local generation in all scenario in Syria also. The cost benefit analysis indicator benefits, it will have benefits in many sites, SEW, but it will increase the CO2 variation in some scenarios, and it will with the project, the change will be small when it comes to the marginal price in Jordan, but it will increase the margin price in green development scenario in Palestinian side. This project could be considered the smallest one. So the interconnection cost will be $15 million. The internal cost in Jordan is $3 million. The Palestinian side cost is 12 million, is like estimated cost. This project is promoted by NIPCO and Beetle, which is the transmission company in Palestine, under the umbrella of study carried by Med-TSO within the Mediterranean project too. Thank you very much. This is the second project, which is Palestinian Jordan project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your very comprehensive presentation, and I mean, to manage to condensate so many information in such a short presentation. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you very much.
If there are no questions, I will now give the floor to Mr. Pitas Karalampos from Greece, from the transmission system operator of Greece, to present Project 11 between Greece, Turkey, and Bulgaria.
Exactly. Good morning. I'm going to present Project 11 as Simon has described. Let me share my presentation. The project investigates regarding the background. Turkish power system was synchronized in 2010 with the continental European synchronous area, also known as SESA, with Greece and Bulgaria. Currently, there are two interconnections, cross-border interconnections. One single line 400 kilovolt between Greece and Turkey, as well as a double circuit with between Bulgaria and Turkey. I would like to mention that currently there is a second interconnection between Greece and Bulgaria, which is going to be implemented. In order to increase the net transfer capacity to 1,350 megawatts. Greece is known that it's strongly interconnected with North Macedonia, Albania, as well as with Italy via a DC interconnector. Turkey is currently interconnected with grids, as mentioned before, with Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Georgia. Regarding the project description, which is investigated, the project consists of two new interconnections. One between Greece, the substation of Nea Santa, to Turkey, Babaeski, and as well as with one overhead line interconnection between Bulgaria, Maritsa, and Turkey, Vice. These two overhead lines are of AC 400 kilovolts, and this project is promoted by Greece, Turkey, and Bulgaria TSOs, IPTO, TEIAS, and ESO. The realization of this project is aimed to further increase the interconnection between Turkey and the SESA region of about 1 gigawatt. The table represents the technical characteristics of the two AC interconnectors. Regarding the project impacts, the expected merits from the project are to market, dispatching adequacy and security of supply, as well as to operation. Specifically, it's going to reduce the high prices differentials between the markets, as well as to positively contribute to the integration of new renewable energy sources. Moreover, it will introduce additional system restoration mechanisms, enable cross-border flows to overcome internal grid congestions, mitigate loop flows in bordering systems, and finally contribute to the flexibility of the three power systems. In order to present the market outputs, the new project will result. We have a positive result in the substitution of coal by lignite, gas-based and the rest generation, enhanced by the efficient use of the current interconnections with SESA to Turkey direction. Specifically, the generation mix. Regarding Greece, it's going to increase in lignite and gas-based generation in all scenarios. About Turkey, there will be substitution of coal and gas-based generation by lignite and gas-based generation imported from Greece and Bulgaria, with a consequent decrease of CO2 emissions reported across all scenarios. Finally, regarding Bulgaria side, it's going to increase in lignite-based generation with the 3 simulated scenarios. Finally, I would like to mention that country-based and cross-country power flows, there is a significant increase in the exchanges from Greece and Bulgaria to Turkey. These projects have a lot of benefits, which are depicted at the 4 graphs. Specifically, there is a positive impact in all values of the CBA analysis which has been conducted. There is an increase in socioeconomic welfare as a result of the efficient use of the connections. And of course, there is a significant decrease in risk curtailment. Finally, we mentioned that there is overall CO2 emissions with a positive impact. Regarding the cost, there is a need for 2 new overhead lines of 400 kV. The one project is in Babaeski, in Turkey side, Babaeski and Habitat. A new line is needed, as well as there is a need for a new line in Greece between Nea Santa and Philippines substations. The overall cost is estimated for this project is about 120 million euros. 40% of this cost represents investment for internal reinforcements. I would like to thank you for your attention, and feel free to ask any questions.
Thank you very much. Let me check if there are some questions. No, for the time being, I don't see any questions. So I thank you once again. Maybe we will come later.
Thank you, Simon.
You're welcome. And I will now give the floor to present the last 2 projects. Last but not least, to Mr. George Christofi from Cyprus. So 2 different projects, Project 12, Israel, Cyprus, Greece, and Project 14, Egypt, Cyprus, Greece.
We are talking about the interconnection of Greece, Cyprus, and Israel. This is the so-called Euro-Asia interconnector. Greece is strongly interconnected with Italy, Turkey, the Balkan countries, and there is also an interconnection of Crete to the mainland Greece now at the construction phase.
Sorry
yes.
to interrupt you. Can you try again to start? If it's presentation mode.
For some reason,
it's not working.
It's not working. I have 2 screens here.
No problem.
The one that I am sharing now it shows the small size, but when I do it, it goes to the other.
No problem. We can still see.
Sorry about that. As long as you can see it.
Yeah, we can.
So Cyprus is an isolated system, and rest penetration is an issue, especially with the EU ambitious targets. We have a lot of targets about photovoltaics, wind generation, but we reached to a point that we start disconnecting, the generation at one point. There is a discovery of natural gases, everybody knows, in the Eastern Mediterranean Sea. This project is a project of common interest in the PCI list, and the reason is because Cyprus is the last isolated country in the EU, and this is one of the main drivers of the project. Now, this project is, let me see if my mouse to show it to you. It consists of two new interconnections, one from Israel to Cyprus, and from Cyprus to Greece, to the island of Crete. There are two cables of 314 kilometers and 894 kilometers. Somewhere here we find the deepest sea level, which is around 3,000 meters down to the sea. It's a very ambitious project. That the project promoter was telling us that he has offers, binding offers from cable companies that can do this, not at the voltage of 500 kilovolts that they said before, at a different voltage that we are discussing now how to sort it out. It's a capacity of 1,000 megawatt VSC technology, HVDC link. There is a transmission of electricity in all of the directions. And because the Cyprus system demand varies from 350 megawatt up to 1,200, and usually it's around 500 megawatt, there will be a limit from the TSO of Cyprus of the energy to be imported in Cyprus for stability issues. The project merits of this project is to reduce the high differentials between the different market nodes. Cyprus is very expensive now because it's isolated. To contribute, as we have said before, with the integration of renewables, solving issues of adequate security of supply, and of course, resolving the isolation of Cyprus. System restoration mechanism, black start in cases from the cable, improving the system flexibility and stability, and also to increase the system voltage stability. In all scenarios, we'll see from the market studies that Cyprus becomes a net importer. At the scenarios of national development and Mediterranean evolution, we see flows from Greece to Cyprus through Crete, and from Cyprus to Israel direction, with power partly to be attributed in the local production and partly to be imported. There is a noticeable increase in the imports of Greece from its Balkan countries and Italy, and from the development, green development scenario, we see Greece relatively balanced, Cyprus mainly imports from Israel. Now, this project yields a positive impact in the expected values of the cost-benefit analysis indicators. There is a consistent increase in the social economic welfare and decrease of risk payment. We see a greater expected benefits in the green development and Mediterranean evolution scenarios, these two. And of course, for Cyprus, that is isolated now, the most positive effects are the significant risk reduction of payment, because we have big targets for 2030, and we see that our system cannot sustain these targets that come from EU. And the energy will not supply and less loss of load duration. Now the cost, as we did on the load flows, we don't see any internal reinforcements in the systems of Greece and Cyprus. And the total investment cost of the project is around 2.2 billion euros. This is the first project. The second project is, let me bring it closer now. This is the so-called Euro-Africa project. This is not a PCI project, but it's an addition to the Euro-Asia project. And I will show you the map in a while. The Egyptian grid, as our colleagues before said, that it's connected to grids with Libya, Jordan, Sudan, and there is a Saudi Arabia project coming in. It started this project, the Euro-Africa project, as a consequent step of the Project 12. And as we said before, there is natural gas in the Eastern Mediterranean that needs to be exploited. That energy needs to move to Europe and neighboring countries. Now, as we saw before, this is Israel and going to Cyprus and Greece. And we have this new interconnection here that goes from Egypt to Cyprus at the same point. It's the same landing point. So these two cables are two 500 megawatt HVDC cables of 498 kilometers. The other two parts of the project, we said that before, and it's an HVDC link with capacity of 1,000 megawatt. Also transmission of electricity in both directions. And as we said before, there is a limit for Cyprus, the 500 megawatt of import. Now, the project merits, we see, as we saw before, it's the same more or less the project merits as the Euro-Asia project. The only thing that differs is that now from the time that we see that the Cyprus will be stop being isolated with the rest of the countries, this is not the project merit for this project. As highlights of the project, we see significant exchanges between Cyprus and Egypt in all scenarios. Cyprus exchanges with Israel. We see the interconnection with Greece that is less affected. In the scenario of green development, Egypt, is heavily exporting to all countries through Cyprus. As it concerns the cost-benefit analysis indicators, we see positive impact of the expected values of the indicators, increase in the socio-economic welfare and decrease in the CO2 emissions, smaller decrease in the rescue payment. We see greater benefits in the green development and Mediterranean evolution, and with respect to the costs, we see no necessary internal reforms of the Cyprus and Greek systems. But with Egypt and Israel, because we don't have models available, we couldn't analyze that. The overall investment cost of the project is around 890 million euros. And thank you very much. That's the end of the second project.
George, thank you to you for your comprehensive presentation. We have two short questions from Mrs. Nagla that I would like to thank from ETC. The first question is, as the import to Cyprus is limited, basically, so the rest capacity will be exported to Greece?
Yes. Yes, from the time that the energy does not come to Cyprus, it will move to the cheapest countries, it will move to the countries that their prices are higher. This is, I mean, we cannot absorb more than the system can withstand. Now, the current situation with the Euro-Asia project. The Euro-Asia, this is a project, the project promoter is a private company, okay? They did make an application for connection to Cyprus. This is the first thing that we have now, and they have preliminary terms of connection because they did all of the studies and so on, and they will move to the final application. Now, they also informed us that they, with respect to the converters, they were on tendering phase, and they did. They are going with the Siemens company to construct the converters in Cyprus and Greece. I don't have any information about Israel. The colleagues there have to inform us. Also, they also told us that they do have tenders for the cables, that the committed tenders that they can construct the cables up to the time limit of the European Union wants it. And the issue is that they have They have tenders for 400 kilovolts, and our discussions and with the IPTO were 500 kilovolts the voltage, and this issue is bringing us, you know, there are some diversifications on the affected systems that we have to discuss, and we're at that point. This is where we are now. But this project is an EU project in the PCI list and is proceeding.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are no, not for the time being. Other questions? So once again, thank you everyone for I mean, it's quite exciting time around there with all these projects, and we're looking forward to update the scenarios and new assessment in the new projects with updated information, also on the maturity of the project. I will maybe there is no, just thank you to you, Mrs. Nagla, for the questions. I will now give the floor to Mr. Luca Ruffino from Med-TSO Secretariat that will show us the digital master plan version, so that we can navigate and find all the different information. Luca, please.
Yes, thank you, Simone. I confirm that the screen is...
Yes, is work. We can see.
Okay. So, yes, during these 2 years, we also developed this powerful tool, let me say, which is a companion of our paper editions of both the master plan report and the scenario report. So this tool is divided in 4 sections, as you can see, and you can navigate through this website, starting from, of course, the paper edition of the master plan report. I would not take too much time on this section, but just let me say that you can download the full report of the Mediterranean Network Development Plan, but also have an overview and read the last edition of the master plan we added in 2018. In addition to this, let's go to the more interested section in our website. We developed this interactive map where you can explore the projects, the 15 projects we gathered in our network development plan, Mediterranean Network Development Plan. Let me give you an example, starting from, for example, project number 12. Here, after a short description of the main features of the project, where you can have a look shortly on, for example, indicators like the project description with the main parameters and information. Then you can have a look to the CBA indicators for all the 3 scenarios. And more interesting, you can have a look to this interactive map where you can explore the impact of the project on the whole Mediterranean power system. So by clicking on the project, you can see, for example, of course, the main parameters such as the transfer capacity, but also the impact on the power system in terms of generation unit. Other important information shown in this map are the marginal price that are impacted by this project. You can have a look, of course, on the legend, and to have a complete overview of what is in this map, I will invite you to have a look on the table of measure units, where you can find not only the table of measures, but also a description, a readme of this powerful map with all the information. Moreover, you can download, of course, the paper and complete project sheets of all the 15 projects. So that's it for this section. Another important section is the one related to the scenario report presented by Emmanuel before. You can download the scenario report here in this section, and also read the previous version of the scenario report. Here there is a powerful companion of the scenario report, which is the visualization platform, a data management tool that is divided into two sections. Here in the first section, we are presenting the scenario modeling results. Again, we develop internally in Med-TSO, thanks to help of a consultant, this interactive map, which is an extension of a tool of our market tool. The market tool we are using, which is called Antares. This is the visualizator of Antares we developed internally in Med-TSO. As you can see, you can have an overview of the reference case scenario of all the three scenarios that are also summarized here on the right of the screen. And also here you can have an overview of the different market simulations depending on the scenario chosen. The last section is dedicated finally to the data scenario visualization. We develop this visualization with Tableau, and here in this sub tool, let me say, you can have a look through the 5 sections of this powerful tool, where you can have information about, for example, installed capacity, starting from the base layer, the base year, which is 2018. So the data provided by the TSOs, on which we develop the 3 scenarios presented before. So by clicking on this menu, you can select the different configuration of the scenario, but more importantly, you can also have a look on the country of your interest. For example, now I select the simulations for France, or you can have a look on a region of the Mediterranean and see what will be the results for example, the Eastern Mediterranean region. Yes, also you can deselect other countries, and you can have an overview on certain part of your interest. The same applied for the other 4 sections of this tool. There is a section dedicated to the generation, to demand, to CO2 emissions, and to the marginal price. Here, for the marginal price, you can have also a look on the configuration of the market, such as the bidding zone in Italy, or the market configuration in France or in Greece. I want to finish my presentation by telling you that all the data are available. You can download by clicking on this icon. And I think this is a good example also of transparency, because you can have an in-depth look to all our data, and yes, the data on which we built all the 3 scenarios.
Thank you, Luca. I think it's indeed, I mean, a very important tool what has been developed to navigate in an interactive way all the results. I don't see any questions, so I would like to leave the floor to Modesto Gabrieli for the conclusion of this webinar. From my side, I would like just to thank you all the participants and for having been invited to moderate this very interesting webinar. Modesto, the floor is yours to close the webinar.
Thank you, Simone. Just a few words in order to thanks all the participants, and special thanks for the people and for the colleagues that have presented the projects, and finally thanks to the Secretariat for hosting the webinar.
Don't hesitate, anyone, if in case you want to contact us, have some contact with Med-TSO, and follow please on our social network, Med-TSO official channel. So we'll stop here. Have a good day. Hope to see you soon. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.